How are you? My name is Teacher Kadonji, unemployed tutorial from Shinyanga, a graduate from Mwenge Catholic University, 2022. Dear listeners, university students, pay attention to listen to the lesson of today about the phases of African literature. Dear university students, do you know the meaning of African literature? Do you know an examples of African literature? Okay. African literature is the work of an art written by Africans for Africans. African writers address the ideas or their views which happened in African continent only and not other continent. African literature developed in different period of time or in phases. We classify African literature into four phases. There is a literature developed before coming of colonialism in Africa. This we call pre-colonial African literature. Literature in Africa existed in four centuries. Both oral literature and written literature existed, but oral literature developed more than written literature. Example, Ethiopia writing books of king that time, and also other countries. Nigeria created animals works as human beings such as tortoise, spider. This animal is intelligent. Animals used to represent the reality of human. And also in East Africa, they use hare as intelligent animals. Example books of Karul the hare. I think everyone the short story Karul the hare. The second phase of African literature, there is an African writers existed during colonial, and this we call this colonial period African literature. During colonialism came in Africa, literature existed or developed because of African writers and white men were writing books. Example, Chinua Achebe wrote the novel Things Fall Apart in the year of 1958, and Hour of God in 1960, and also Ngugi wa Thiong'o in 1962 wrote the novel Weep Not Child. And other African writers like Wilson Inca, Christina Amata Ido, Erech Amadi, and so on. African literature developed in this period because based on criticizing evils of colonialism. That times, African writers wrote their books about the effect of colonialism in Africa. The first phase of African literature was based on African culture, African tradition and customs, which were practiced those times. That's why the African writers addressed the thing which is practiced before coming of colonialism. But in the second phase, based on effect of colonialism, the African writers were criticizing the Europeans, the white people, the colonialists, against the exploitation of Africans in Africa. The third phase of African literature developed after colonialism in Africa, and this we call this post-colonial period African literature. Also, African literature developed after colonialism. Writers spreaded or increased in this period. Example, Chinua Achebe, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Aiko Yamai, Wilson Inca, Shaban Robert, Bernard Mapalala, and other writers. In this period, authors based on educating, criticizing society and the government. Example, Ngugi wa Thiong'o criticized the government of Kenya during Mau Mau War. The last phase of African literature is modern African literature. In this phase, the literature developed after independence of African countries, especially in the of 1990s up to 2000s, due to the development of globalization in the science of technology. That existed or speed of television, radio, and internet that lead to development of literature because nowadays work of art shows in television. Dear listeners, university students, now we add the fourth phase of African literature, which is modern African literature, developed in the year of 1990s and 2000s, based on science and technology and globalization. That's the end of the lesson of today. I'd like to remind you to subscribe, to like, to share, and comment below this video. My name is Teacher Kadonji, the manager of literature and the young African writer. Thank you for listening to me. I wish you all the best.